Hey, and welcome to Puzzlehead. This channel is all about engaging stories with clever twists, unexpected turns, and moments that will pull you in emotionally. So, if you enjoy drama, surprises, and endings that truly hit, then you're in the right place. Subscribe and join us for stories full of secrets, intense moments, and satisfying outcomes. Now, don't forget to turn on notifications. The next puzzle is about to begin.
The flowers were supposed to be a surprise. Yellow roses, Jessica's favorites. I'd driven across town to that boutique florist she always raved about, the one with the ridiculous prices that somehow made the blooms more meaningful. 3 dozen of them, wrapped in that expensive cream paper with the gold ribbon she'd screenshot and sent to me 100 times. I was early. That was my thing, always early, always prepared, always the reliable guy who showed up when he said he would, the kind of guy who remembers anniversaries and birthdays, who actually listens when she talks about her day, who learned to make her grandmother's pancake recipe just to see her smile on Sunday mornings, the kind of guy who was about to propose on Friday night at Romano's in the private dining room I'd reserved 3 weeks ago, with the violinist I'd hired to play The Way You Look Tonight, while I got down on one knee. Her apartment building had those old windows that never quite closed properly, the kind that let in winter drafts and summer heat, and apparently let out conversations that were never meant for my ears. I was climbing the front steps, flowers in hand, keys to her place jingling in my pocket, when I heard it. Jessica's laugh, that bright musical sound that had made me fall in love with her 2 years ago. But there was something different about it now, something sharp and cruel that I'd never heard before. "Oh my God, you guys, he's actually going to do it Friday." Her voice carried through the cracked window of her second-floor apartment. "Elliot's proposing at Romano's. He thinks he's being so romantic." My feet stopped moving. The flowers suddenly felt heavy in my hands. Wait, seriously? That was Madison, her college roommate who visited every other weekend. Finally! When are you going to tell him yes? The laughter that followed made my stomach drop like I'd missed a step going downstairs. Tell him yes? Are you insane? Jessica's voice was gleeful, almost giddy. I'm going to let him do the whole thing. Get down on his knee, give his little speech, probably cry a little. You know how emotional he gets. And then, in front of everyone at the restaurant, I'm going to tell him exactly what I think of his pathetic little proposal. Jessica, no. That was Claire, her work friend, but she was laughing too. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. Elliot, sweetie, did you really think I'd marry someone who makes $42,000 a year and cries during Pixar movies? I've been practicing in the mirror. I want to get the delivery just right. My hands were shaking. The flowers rustled in their paper wrapping, and for a moment I was terrified they'd hear me. But they were too caught up in their cruelty to notice. What about the ring? Madison asked. I heard he spent like 3 months' salary on it. Oh, I'm keeping the ring. Jessica's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing what to have for lunch. I mean, he bought it for me, right? Not my fault he has terrible judgment in women. I can probably get 8 grand for it, maybe 10 if I find the right buyer. You are absolutely evil, Claire said, but she was still laughing. What are you going to do after you destroy him? Well, I'll need a place to stay for a few days, just until he stops calling and texting and showing up at my door like a lost puppy. You know how he gets when he's upset? Remember when his mom died? God, the man cried for weeks, so pathetic. They were laughing about my mother. My mother, who had died 8 months ago after a brutal fight with cancer. The woman who had raised me alone after my father left. Who had worked 2 jobs to put me through college. Who had told me with her dying breath that she just wanted to see me happy. Jessica had held me while I cried at the funeral. She'd brought me soup when I couldn't eat, sat with me during the long nights when grief felt like it was drowning me. She'd told me she loved me, that we'd get through it together, that my mother would have wanted me to find joy again. All lies. All of it. Just an act she'd been performing while secretly mocking my pain with her friends. The best part, Jessica continued, and I could hear the smile in her voice, is that he actually thinks I love him. Like, genuinely believes it. He has no idea that I've been planning my exit strategy for months. I'm already talking to that guy from my yoga class. You know, the one with the Tesla. He's been asking me out for weeks. Tesla guy is hot, Madison agreed. Way better than IT nerd. Right? I mean, Elliot's sweet and all, but he's so ordinary, Boring job, boring apartment, boring hobbies. He thinks a fancy date is Olive Garden and a movie. Tesla guy took his last girlfriend to Paris for a weekend. Paris, you guys. Not the damn Cheesecake Factory. I set the flowers down on the front step. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something cold and calm had settled over me, like ice forming on a winter pond. Clear and hard and completely still. "You're going to break his heart," Claire said, but there was no sympathy in her voice. "Hearts heal," Jessica replied. "His ego might take longer, but honestly, maybe this will be good for him. Maybe he'll finally realize he needs to aim lower. Find some nice librarian who thinks his little IT job is impressive. Cybersecurity consultant, actually. For government contractors. But I'd never bothered correcting her when she called it IT work. I'd never bothered explaining that my boring job involved protecting sensitive data for companies that worked with the Pentagon. That my security clearance was higher than most military officers. That my ordinary salary was actually quite comfortable when you included the bonuses and stock options she didn't know about. I'd never bothered because I thought she loved me for who I was, not what I could buy her. "When's the big humiliation?" Madison asked. Friday night, 8 o'clock. Romano's private dining room. He probably invited his friends, too. You know how he likes an audience for his big romantic gestures. Remember the birthday thing? My birthday. When I'd surprised her with a weekend trip to Napa Valley, complete with wine tastings and a couple's massage. She'd seemed so happy, so grateful. She'd posted pictures all over Instagram calling me the most thoughtful boyfriend ever. More lies. "Oh my God, his friends are going to be there?" Claire sounded delighted. "That makes it so much worse. I love it." I know, right? Public humiliation is so much more effective than private rejection. Plus, this way everyone will know exactly why I'm dumping him. No one can say I didn't give him a chance. I picked up the flowers and walked back to my car. My movements felt mechanical, precise. Like I was following a program someone else had written. The florist had included a small card with the bouquet. "For the woman who makes every day brighter," I'd written in my careful handwriting. "Thank you for being my sunshine." I crumpled the card and threw it in a trash can outside her building. The ring was perfect. 2 carats, princess cut, set in platinum with a band of smaller diamonds that caught the light like captured stars. I'd spent 3 months researching cuts and clarity, visiting jewelers, learning about color grades and inclusions. The sales associate at Tiffany had smiled when I'd finally made my choice, telling me it was a ring for a woman who deserves the very best. Jessica had been subtle about her preferences. Screenshots of celebrity engagement rings sent with casual, "Isn't this gorgeous?" messages. Pausing a little too long in front of jewelry store windows when we walked through the mall. Mentioning her ring size during a conversation about her sister's wedding, then quickly changing the subject like it had just slipped out. I thought I was being so clever, picking up on all her hints, planning the perfect proposal for the woman I wanted to spend my life with. Now the ring sat in its blue velvet box on my kitchen counter, and all I could think about was her voice saying, "I'm keeping the ring. Not my fault, he has terrible judgment in women." My laptop was open next to it, 3 monitors displaying the kind of work that Jessica had always dismissed as computer stuff. Penetration testing for a defense contractor, vulnerability assessments for a financial services company, security audits that could prevent data breaches affecting millions of people. Boring IT work, according to the woman who thought I made $42,000 a year. I'd never lied to her about my salary, but I'd never corrected her assumptions either. When she'd guessed based on her limited understanding of technology jobs, I just shrugged and let her believe what she wanted. Money had never seemed important to our relationship. Funny how different things look now. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I have a feeling it's going to be a very memorable evening." The emoji felt like a knife twist. She was actually excited about destroying me. I opened my laptop and began to type. Jessica Martinez wasn't just my girlfriend of 2 years. She was also at Jessica Lifestyle, an Instagram influencer with 47,000 followers and a growing brand built around fashion, beauty, and authentic living. She'd started the account shortly after we began dating, using my professional network and connections to land her first brand partnerships. "You know so many people in tech," she'd said, batting her eyelashes in that way that used to make my heart race. "Could you maybe introduce me to someone at Textile or Revolve? Just as friends, of course. I'm trying to build something here." I'd been happy to help. proud even. My girlfriend was ambitious, creative, building something of her own. I'd made introductions, vouched for her character, even helped her set up the technical side of her website and email marketing campaigns. What I hadn't done was look too closely at how she was building her following. But I was looking now. 47,000 followers. Impressive until you ran them through a bot detection algorithm. 63% fake accounts. Purchased followers from click farms in Bangladesh and the Philippines, designed to inflate her numbers and attract brand partnerships. Her engagement rates told the same story, thousands of likes on photos. But when you analyze the accounts doing the liking, they were shells. Empty profiles with no posts, generic usernames, creation dates clustered around her follower growth spurts. Jessica had built her entire influencer career on fraud. The brand partnerships were even more interesting. She'd leveraged my reputation and connections to secure deals with companies that trusted me, that assumed anyone I'd recommend would share my professional integrity. She was being paid to promote products to an audience that didn't actually exist, collecting money for marketing that delivered no real value. The Federal Trade Commission took a very dim view of influencer fraud, especially when it involved fake endorsements and undisclosed paid partnerships. I spent the next 4 hours documenting everything. Screenshots of her follower analytics, evidence of the bot accounts, records of payments from brands, copies of contracts that violated FTC guidelines. I built a case like I was preparing for a congressional hearing. Because in my line of work, details mattered, evidence mattered, and if someone was going to destroy a life on Friday night, I wanted to make sure it was the right life. My phone rang at 11:30. Jessica's name lit up the screen with the photo I'd taken of her last month at her birthday dinner. She was laughing at something I'd said, her eyes bright with what I'd thought was love. "Hey, babe," she said when I answered. "I know it's late, but I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about tomorrow night." "Yeah?" I kept my voice neutral. "What about it?" "I don't know. I just have this feeling that everything's going to change, like this could be the moment that defines the rest of our lives." She was right about that. "I love you, Elliot," she said, and she sounded so sincere that for a moment I almost doubted what I'd heard, almost convinced myself that I'd misunderstood, that there was some other explanation. Then I remembered her laughing about my mother's passing. "I love you too," I said, because it was still true. That was the worst part. Even knowing what she really thought of me, even knowing what she was planning, I still loved her. The heart doesn't stop wanting what it wants just because the brain knows better. "Sweet dreams," Jemma Wisson poured, and hung up. I closed my laptop and picked up the ring box. The diamond caught the light from my desk lamp, throwing tiny rainbows across the ceiling. Beautiful and brilliant and completely wasted on someone who saw it as nothing more than a paycheck. Tomorrow was Thursday. Jessica thought she had everything planned perfectly for Friday night. She had no idea that the game had already begun. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that makes the whole world look like it's been filmed through dirty glass. I'd barely slept, my mind cycling through possibilities and contingencies, like a computer running diagnostics. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Jessica, starting at 6 a.m. The first voicemail was casual. "Hey, babe, just calling to say good morning. Call me back when you get this." The second, an hour later. "Elliot, I tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. Are you okay? Call me." By the fifth message, her voice had shifted to something sharper. "Seriously, where are you? We're supposed to talk about tonight. This isn't like you." The 10th message was pure panic. "Elliot, please call me back. I'm starting to worry something happened to you. Please just let me know you're okay." I listened to all of them while drinking my coffee and watching the news. There was something almost fascinating about hearing her voice change from confident to confused to genuinely frightened. She'd been so certain of her control over the situation, so sure that she knew exactly how Friday night would play out. The last voicemail had come in 20 minutes ago. "Fine, I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm coming over. We need to talk." I deleted all the messages and turned off my phone. At exactly 9 a.m., I sent an email from an anonymous account to the Federal Trade Commission. Subject line, "Influencer fraud documentation, Jessica Martinez, at Jessica Lifestyle." The email contained a detailed report of her fake followers, undisclosed paid partnerships, and fraudulent engagement metrics, along with screenshots and analytics data that would take their investigators about 10 minutes to verify. At 9:15, I sent a similar email to every brand she'd ever partnered with. Not accusations, just questions. We're conducting an audit of influencer partnerships and wanted to verify the authenticity of engagement metrics for Jessica Martinez. Please find attached analytics data for your review. By 9:30, I was sitting in my car outside Romano's restaurant, watching through the window as the manager unlocked the front door. Mr. Chen. Giuseppe Romano himself came out to greet me. We'd met several times when I'd eaten there with clients. You're early for your reservation tonight. Actually, I need to cancel, I said. Something came up. His face fell. Oh no, the private room, the violinist, the special menu, everything is prepared. Your lady, she will be so disappointed. Trust me, I said. She'll survive. I drove home to find Jessica's car parked outside my building, hazard lights blinking. She was sitting on the front steps, still in her pajamas with a coat thrown over them, her hair uncombed and her makeup smeared. She looked like she'd been crying. Thank God, she said, jumping up when she saw me. I've been here for an hour. Where were you? Why weren't you answering your phone? I had some errands to run, I said, walking past her to unlock the front door. Errands? Today? Elliot, it's Friday. Tonight is... She stopped, studying my face. Are you okay? You look different. I'm fine. I held the door open for her. Come on up. She followed me to my apartment, chattering nervously about her morning, about how worried she'd been, about how excited she was for our dinner. I made appropriate noises at appropriate moments, but I wasn't really listening. I was thinking about timing. So what time should I be ready? She asked, settling onto my couch like she belonged there. And should I wear the blue dress or the black one? I know you love the blue, but the black is more elegant. And if we're going somewhere special, we're not going anywhere, I said. She blinked. What do you mean? I canceled our reservation. You, what? Why? Her voice climbed an octave. Elliot, what's going on? I sat down across from her, close enough to see the confusion and growing fear in her eyes. I heard you, Jessica. Sunday afternoon. Your apartment. You and your friends planning out exactly how you were going to humiliate me tonight. All the color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Did you really think I'd marry someone who makes $42,000 a year and cries during Pixar movies? I quoted her words back to her, watching her flinch. You've been practicing in the mirror, remember? Want to get the delivery just right. Elliot, I can explain. You laughed about my mother. My voice was steady, but something in it made her shrink back against the couch cushions. 8 months after I buried the only family I had left, you laughed about how pathetic it was that I cried at her funeral. That's not... I didn't mean... She was crying now. Real tears that smeared her mascara and made her look younger and more vulnerable. They were just being mean, and I got caught up in it. You know how girls can be when they get together? I didn't mean any of it. Which part didn't you mean? The part where you called me boring and ordinary? The part where you're already planning to date Tesla guy from your yoga class? Or the part where you were going to keep the engagement ring and sell it for $10,000? She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was no explanation that could make this better, and we both knew it. The funny thing is, I continued, you were so focused on planning my humiliation that you forgot to cover your own tracks. What do you mean? I opened my laptop and turned it toward her. The screen showed her Instagram analytics, the bot detection results highlighted in red. 63% fake followers, Jessica. The FTC received a very detailed report about your influencer fraud this morning. So did every brand you've ever worked with. Her face went white. You didn't. I did. I closed the laptop. You wanted to destroy my life in front of an audience. I figured turnabout was fair play. She lunged for her phone, fingers flying over the screen. I watched her face change as she read email after email. Brand partnerships being terminated immediately. Demands for refunds on previous campaigns. Legal language about fraud investigations and potential criminal charges. You fool, she whispered. You absolute fool. Do you have any idea what you've done? I've done exactly what you were planning to do to me. The only difference is that my evidence is real. She was scrolling through her Instagram now, watching her carefully curated world collapse in real time. Comments from followers who'd seen the news, brands distancing themselves publicly, other influencers unfollowing her to avoid association with the scandal. 2 years, she said, and her voice was broken. 2 years of my life building this, and you destroyed it in one morning. 2 years of lies, I corrected. 2 years of fraud, 2 years of using my reputation and connections to build something fake. I loved you. She was sobbing now, the kind of desperate crying that comes when someone realizes they've lost everything. I know I said those things, but I loved you. I still love you. No, I said quietly. You loved what I could do for you. The introductions, the technical help, the emotional support when you needed it. You loved having someone reliable and predictable who would always be there when you called. That's not true. Then why were you going to humiliate me in front of everyone I care about? Why were you planning to take the ring and disappear? Why were you already talking to other guys? She didn't have an answer for that. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Marcus, who was supposed to be at dinner tonight. Dude, did you see Jessica's Instagram? What the hell happened? The story was spreading fast. In a few hours, everyone we knew would have heard about the influencer fraud scandal. Jessica's friends, her co-workers, her family, the same people she'd planned to watch her destroy me, would instead witness her own destruction. Please, she whispered. Please, there has to be something we can do. Some way to fix this. I'll do anything. There's nothing to fix, I said. This is just consequences. You made choices and now you get to live with them. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're not the man I thought you were. No, I agreed. I'm not the man you thought you could use and discard. Turns out that man never existed. She left 20 minutes later, still crying, still begging, still not understanding that some bridges can't be rebuilt once they've been burned. I watched from my window as she sat in her car for a long time, probably trying to figure out what to do next, where to go, who might still be willing to help her. Eventually, she drove away. I opened the ring box one more time, looking at the diamond that was supposed to represent our future together. 2 carats of brilliant cut crystal that had cost me 3 months of careful saving and planning. Beautiful, flawless, and completely worthless now. But I had a better idea for what to do with it than selling it to cover Jessica's debts. The memorial bench arrived on a Tuesday morning in October, 6 weeks after Jessica's world had collapsed. I'd had it installed in Riverside Park, in the quiet section near the pond where my mother used to feed the ducks when I was a kid. The bronze plaque was simple and elegant, in memory of Margaret Chen, beloved mother, teacher, friend, find joy in small moments and kindness in everyday people. I'd used the money from returning the engagement ring to pay for it. 3 months' salary, transformed from a symbol of fake love into something that would honor real love for decades to come. Jessica had tried calling me 47 times in the weeks following our confrontation. I'd blocked her number after the first dozen, but she'd borrowed phones from friends, created new social media accounts, even showed up at my office building twice before security banned her from the premises. The influencer fraud investigation had moved quickly. The FTC didn't mess around when they had clear evidence and cooperative witnesses. Jessica was facing substantial fines and a permanent ban from social media marketing. 3 of the brands she defrauded were pursuing civil suits for damages and fraud. Her Instagram account had been suspended, then deleted entirely. The apartment she couldn't afford without her influencer income was gone. She'd moved back in with her parents in Ohio, according to the mutual friend who'd felt compelled to update me on her situation. She's really struggling, Madison had said when she'd cornered me at a coffee shop downtown. I know she hurt you, but don't you think this is enough? She's lost everything. She was planning to take everything from me, I'd replied. The only difference is that I got there first. But she loved you. She made a mistake, but she loved you. People who love you don't plan to humiliate you in public for entertainment. They don't mock your grief or sell your engagement ring for profit. They don't build their careers on lies and then use your reputation to legitimize their fraud. Madison had left without another word. I didn't feel guilty about Jessica's situation. I'd simply revealed the truth about who she really was and what she'd really been doing. If that truth was ugly and destructive, that was her responsibility, not mine. But I did feel empty. 2 years of my life had been built on a foundation of lies. 2 years of thinking I'd found someone who understood me, who accepted my quiet personality and ordinary pleasures, who wanted to build something real together. 2 years of believing in a love that had never actually existed. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the realization of how completely I'd been fooled. Jessica wasn't a good actress. I'd just been a willing audience, eager to believe in the performance because I'd wanted it to be real. I was thinking about this on a Thursday evening in November. sitting on my mother's memorial bench and watching the last leaves fall into the pond, when I heard footsteps on the gravel path behind me. Elliot? I turned to find Sarah Chen walking toward me. No relation, despite the shared last name. She was a librarian at the downtown branch who I'd met during a cybersecurity workshop I'd given for city employees 6 months ago. We'd grabbed coffee afterward and discovered we both loved old movies and terrible puns. I'd been planning to ask her out when Jessica had started dropping hints about engagement rings. Sarah, what are you doing here? I come here sometimes to read. She gestured to the book in her hand, something thick and literary that Jessica would have mocked as pretentious. I saw you sitting here and thought I'd say hello. I hope that's okay. Of course. I moved over to make room on the bench. How have you been? Good. Busy. I heard about what happened with your girlfriend. I'm sorry. Word traveled fast in professional circles, especially when it involved fraud investigations and public scandals. Thanks, it's been educational. She sat down next to me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo. Something clean and simple, without the designer complexity of Jessica's expensive products. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? Because you look like someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time. It was such a simple question, asked with such genuine concern, that I found myself telling her the truth. About the Sunday afternoon revelation, about the planned humiliation, about the systematic destruction of everything Jessica had built on lies. About the emptiness that had followed. The sense that I'd won a war, but lost something essential in the process. Sarah listened without judgment, without trying to fix anything or offer easy answers. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You know what strikes me about this whole thing? She said finally. What? She never actually knew you, the real you. She fell in love with some idea of who she thought you were. Boring, predictable, easy to manipulate. She never bothered to learn about your actual job, your actual capabilities, your actual worth. And because she didn't really see you, she had no idea what would happen when she pushed too far. I'd never thought about it that way. You think she would have acted differently if she'd known who I really was? I think people who build their lives on lies eventually forget where the lies end and reality begins. She convinced herself you were weak because it made it easier to justify what she was planning to do. But you were never weak. You were just kind. And she mistook kindness for weakness. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the ducks paddle across the pond in the fading light. The memorial plaque caught the last rays of sunlight, making the bronze letters glow. Your mother sounds like she was a wonderful person, Sarah said, reading the inscription. She was. She always said that character is what you do when no one's watching. I think she would have been proud of how I handled this situation. Even the revenge part? Especially the revenge part. She didn't believe in letting people walk all over you. She used to say that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is show someone the consequences of their choices. Sarah smiled. Smart woman. The smartest. As we walked back toward the parking lot together, Sarah asked, would you like to get dinner sometime? Somewhere casual. Maybe that little Italian place on 5th Street. Not Romano's? I asked. And she laughed. Definitely not Romano's. I was thinking more like pizza and terrible wine and conversations about books you've actually read. That sounds perfect, I said, and meant it. Jessica had been wrong about a lot of things, but she'd been especially wrong about what I wanted in a relationship. I didn't need someone who looked perfect in Instagram photos or who could network her way into exclusive events. I needed someone who would sit with me on a memorial bench and listen to the whole ugly truth without trying to change the ending. Someone who understood that the best revenge isn't always the most dramatic one. Sometimes it's simply refusing to let someone else's cruelty make you cruel in return. Someone who knew that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means choosing to build something better on the foundation of hard-earned wisdom. As I drove home that night, I realized the emptiness was gone. Not filled with anything dramatic or overwhelming, just gone. Replaced by the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I'd handled an impossible situation with integrity, that I'd protected myself without losing myself, and that I was finally ready to find out what real love actually looked like. Jessica had wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone who mattered to me. Instead, she'd given me the greatest gift possible, the truth about who she really was, delivered early enough to save me from a lifetime of lies. And in the end, that truth had set me free.